Boy, I'm at a loss. I am drawing a blank right now and I'm literally praying for inspiration, trying to make this work.
The courtroom held its breath. Years of silence, heartbreak, and quiet endurance converged in a single electric moment. Meri Brown, once a quiet figure in the shadows of polygamy, now walked with a purpose that demanded attention. Each step she took echoed through the room, a rhythmic drumbeat of justice long delayed. Dressed in a deep navy blazer, her blonde hair pulled tightly into a no-nonsense knot, Meri carried more than just a folder. She carried decades of loyalty, sacrifice, and unacknowledged contributions, proof of a life lived in service to a family that often overlooked her. Her eyes, sharp and unwavering, scanned the courtroom. For a moment they met Robyn sitting tensely beside Kody. Then they locked onto Kody himself, the man who once vowed equality and partnership, now sitting rigidly, jaw clenched, arms crossed. Meri approached the microphone, the quiet hum of anticipation thick in the air. "Your Honor," she began, her voice strong yet tinged with the weight of long-suppressed anger and sorrow. "I stand before you today to reclaim what has always been mine. Not just as a wife, but as a woman, as a mother, as a human being." A hush fell over the gallery. For years, audiences had watched Meri navigate heartbreak on sister wives. Her emotional loneliness, fleeting disappointments, the betrayals aired for the world to see. But today was different. Today she was no longer a silent observer in her own life. "I want what is rightfully mine," she continued, voice unwavering. Kody's jaw tightened further. Robyn's eyes darted down, discomfort etched across her face. This was more than property. It was recognition, respect, and reclaiming a voice that had been ignored for far too long. Behind Meri, Janelle sat, arms crossed, her eyes reflecting the same fire that burned within Meri. A shared sense of betrayal, a silent oath of solidarity. They were no longer former sister wives in conflict. They were allies, women determined to redefine the boundaries of their lives. The judge, a composed woman in her 60s, nodded for Meri to proceed. Meri lifted the first document, her voice steady. "This is a deposit statement from August 14, 2018, she explained. "Funds from my business account were placed into the family trust meant for Coyote Pass. Yet my name was omitted from the deed." She held up another sheet. "This is our broker's email confirming my investment interest. Pause. And this," she added, her voice tightening, "is a duplicate of the show contract, signed by all wives, confirming that income from filming would support our shared family dreams on this land." Her lawyer nodded in silent support, sharp-eyed and ready. Meri's gaze returned to Kody. "When we divorced in 2014 so that he could adopt Robyn's children, I did so believing that spiritual equality would remain intact. That our family, though restructured, would honor the covenants we made. But that was a lie." Kody's jaw clenched further, his composure faltering. Robyn fidgeted beside him, eyes darting away, tension radiating from every fiber of the room. "I spent 30 years in this family. I raised children. I built a show that made all of this possible. No. I have been told, quietly, indirectly, deliberately, that I am not worthy of a single acre." Her hand gripped the podium, knuckles white. "I surrendered my legal marriage. I surrendered my voice. But no more. I am done giving." Janelle nodded subtly behind her, a silent confirmation. "Me too." "This is not just about land," Meri continued, voice cutting through the silence. "It is about dignity. About promises kept. About ensuring that one man cannot rewrite history for his own gain." The courtroom remained still. Even the judge, taking meticulous notes, seemed caught in the gravity of the moment. The bailiff approached with an evidence folder. Kody's lawyer objected, claiming Meri's role was spiritual, not financial. Meri stepped back but could not hide a small, defiant scoff. Her lawyer rose, poised and commanding. "Your Honor, the family's financial matters, TV money, business income, shared accounts, were deliberately intertwined. Meri Brown was not merely a spiritual partner. She was an unpaid contributor in a decades-long enterprise that funded Coyote Pass." Outside, reporters clustered, whispers of speculation already spreading. Kody glared, expression unreadable, but the transformation in Meri's gaze was clear. Adoration had been replaced by determination. She had lost much, yes, but what she was fighting for now was more than land. It was justice, it was recognition, and it was finally reclaiming her story. Coyote Pass was more than land. It was a promise, a dream shrouded in dust and pine trees. For years, it had been the slender thread of hope keeping Meri Brown tethered to possibility. Today that thread was poised to snap, or finally secure the future she had fought for so long. The truth hit harder than any explanation. Meri Brown, after decades of loyalty and silent endurance, finally confronted the reality she had long suspected. She had asked to see who legally owned the plots of Coyote Pass, and Janelle had delivered the cold, unvarnished truth. Your name wasn't listed. Mine wasn't either. Only two names kept appearing, Kody Brown and Robyn Brown. Mary's eyes narrowed. This was the same man who had manipulated, twisted, and spun promises into chains of obligation for years. On camera, in private, at family gatherings, he had always said, "We're building this together. Trust me. I see the vision." And they had believed him. Meri had believed him. Even after the catfishing scandal of 2015, even after Kody publicly distanced himself, she had stayed, tethered by hope and loyalty. But now, outside the courtroom walls, in the hallways of justice, the truth rang like a bell. He hadn't. He never had. Not in his eyes. Inside the strategy room, the lawyers huddled over thick folders, documents sprawled across the table. The air was taut, electric, with decades of deception ready to be dissected. "This isn't just about property," Meri's attorney declared. "It's about fiduciary responsibility. If Kody promised equal shares to each wife and then shifted ownership behind the scenes, it constitutes constructive fraud." Janelle's attorney nodded, grim. Shared show income, commingled funds, and property investments had created an implicit trust. Violating that trust without disclosure? Evidence of intent to defraud. Meri glanced at the land transfer filing of 2021, Plot 3, placed jointly in Kody and Robyn's name. No signatures of the other wives, no notification, no discussion. A carefully orchestrated erasure of their stake in a shared dream. Kody's deposition justification echoed in her mind. "I paid 92% of the costs. The others committed, but I advanced the funds to ensure it was done right." A condescending grin. Yet Meri's lawyer pressed, relentless. "Those funds, 92%, where did they originate, Mr. Brown? From a show that required Meri and Janelle's participation, from their labor and contribution?" Kody stiffened. "They were involved, yes, but did they receive equal payout?" "No, I managed distribution," he admitted. Silence fell. The kingdom he had built rested on the backs of women who believed in partnership. He saw them as tenants, temporary, replaceable. And Robyn? Her emails with the real estate attorney revealed complicity. "We don't want the other wives to make things messy. Better if we finalize everything before they notice." Defense tried to claim it was about legal simplicity, not deceit. Meri's lawyer cut through it. Why weren't the wives informed? Why no meetings? Why was Meri still liable for taxes on land she didn't own? No answers came. None existed. Weeks before the trial, Meri had walked the Coyote Pass property alone. The wind tore at her coat, pine needles crunching beneath her boots. She surveyed the barren land, once filled with dreams of 4 homes, a legacy for their children. Memories of Kody gesturing dramatically in 2018. "There'll be a porch here. Best view. Coffee in the morning. Grandkids running." She had smiled, naive, hopeful. Now only emptiness remained. She bent down, lifted a rock, let it drop. "This is all I will receive if I do not fight." A line in the sand. The courtroom was taut with anticipation. Meri and Janelle were no longer passive participants. They were adversaries ready to reclaim their rights. Years of being told to stay quiet, obey, wait for divine reward. Over. Faith doesn't build houses. Obedience doesn't create ownership. They had watched Kody construct a future on their backs, only to lock the door once complete. The tension was palpable, like glass ready to shatter. A short recess had been called, yet no one moved. Every heartbeat, every breath waited for the next act. Meri straightened her blouse, took a deep breath, steadied her hands. Justice, not fear, propelled her. The clerk called her to the stand. Hushed murmurs rose and fell like waves as she rose, eyes passing over Kody and Robyn. He sat stone-faced, fingers tapping impatiently. Robyn whispered to her attorney, nervous. Both watched as Meri approached the microphone. "Your Honor," she began, voice calm but resolute. "I spent 30 years in a family where silence was loyalty, patience was policy. I was instructed to trust, to wait, to believe that things would even out." She paused, letting the weight of decades of deception settle over the courtroom. "But waiting doesn't build houses. Waiting doesn't put my name on property. Waiting doesn't safeguard my rights. That is why I am here today." Her lawyer stepped forward, thick folders in hand. Over 40 pieces of evidence. Payment transfers, legal filings, emails, text logs, unedited show contracts, TLC correspondence. Meri lifted the first document. "This is the 2018 contract, signed by all family members. Income from TLC and shared businesses was to be equally invested in Coyote Pass. Each parcel, each investment was promised to be shared. Yet in 2023, I discovered the land had been divided without our permission. All parcels were in Kody and Robyn's control." The judge nodded, meticulously noting every word. Kody shifted, uncomfortable. Meri's voice did not waver. The first blow had been struck. The battle had begun. Meri continued, detailing every payment, every contribution she had made, every promise Kody had broken. Her tone was calm but piercing, each word landing like a hammer strike against the fortress of lies he had built. Janelle watched from behind, her presence a silent anchor of solidarity. Together they exposed a system designed to exploit and silence them. Emails, text logs, financial records, each document a dagger revealing the truth. Kody's condescending justifications fell flat as Meri presented evidence of their labor, their sweat, their intellectual and financial contributions. Robyn's role, though more subtle, was laid bare in the correspondence that indicated complicity in the concealment of ownership. The courtroom gasped as Meri unfolded proof of payments, investments and contracts, showing that every promise Kody had made was undermined by calculated manipulation. Each exhibit highlighted the disparity, the betrayal, the audacity of erasing decades of shared labor. She concluded, voice resonant, eyes unwavering, "This isn't about land alone. This is about recognition, dignity, and accountability. I am not just a name on a deed. I am a woman, a mother, a partner who contributed to every step of this family's legacy. Today we draw a line." The air was electric. Every eye fixed on the unfolding drama, the courtroom a stage for the unraveling of a story long suppressed. Meri and Janelle were no longer the quiet figures in the shadows. They were the architects of justice, wielding truth like a sword against years of deceit and manipulation. And as the judge prepared to examine the evidence, the room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the verdict that would not only define ownership of land but also reclaim the voice and agency of two women who had been sidelined for far too long. The courtroom was electric, every eye fixed, every heart holding its breath. Meri Brown's attorney stood, revealing emails from the real estate attorney's office. Documents that would shatter the facade Kody had carefully constructed for decades. One email was read aloud. "Robyn and I are the only ones seriously investing in the land. The others can build later if they still want to be involved." Another email from Kody, February 2021, outlined his intent. "I believe it is more desirable that we complete the paperwork prior to the wives' inquiring questions. Less drama down the line." Robyn's March 2021 email confirmed her knowledge and complicity. Gasps rippled through the courtroom like wildfire. Kody blinked, then shook his head, muttering about context, but the judge slammed her gavel. "Mr. Brown, you will remain silent unless spoken to." Meri's voice rang out, firm and piercing. "I never received notice of a deed transfer. My name, despite contributing through my boutique business and media appearances, was left off legal ownership. Yet I continued paying property taxes." But her eyes locked onto Kody. "Because I trusted you." He avoided her gaze. Meri lifted another document. "This is an $18,200 payment I made from my luau income into the joint account used to buy the land. I was told this secured my plot. I have 6 such payments. And now I am told I didn't invest enough. But Your Honor, I did invest. My life, my name, my dignity, for a man who made me invisible." Silence blanketed the room. Observers, fans, and reporters were stunned. The judge, calm yet piercing, clarified, Your argument is that verbal, written, and financial agreements existed among all family members, you acted in good faith, but your name was deleted from legal ownership? Yes, Your Honor, Meri replied steadily. And you claim Mr. Brown and Mrs. Robyn Brown acted in bad faith to transfer ownership without disclosure? Yes, Your Honor. And are you ready to pursue full compensation or forced sale? Meri's eyes did not waver. I am ready to reclaim what is mine. Either buy me out at market value or we split the land as promised. Kody's turn arrived. He mounted the stand, jaw clenched, arms crossed. A man ensnared by his own hubris. Did you inform Meri Brown of the deed transfer? The judge asked bluntly. No, Kody admitted. Why not? I didn't think she was interested anymore. She was aloof. Not certain if she wanted to develop. Did she contribute financially toward the land? She might have. I don't know, he muttered. Meri's lawyer pushed. Let me remind you, Mr. Brown, are these her transfers? Bank statements were presented. Kody conceded. Yes, she contributed. Yet you cut her out. I had to act fast, Kody barked. Robyn and I were the only ones taking it seriously. The courtroom hummed. Mr. Brown, did you use shared family finances to pay for property registered only in your name and your legal wife's? The judge pressed. Yes. That was it, Kody replied, voice tight. The mask had slipped. The dominant patriarch facade crumbled. Kody's empire, built on manipulation, intimidation, and exploitation, was laid bare. Robyn, head in hands, attempted to shield herself from scrutiny. Evidence, including unseen TLC footage, would later validate the timeline of deception. Meri had done what few expected. She confronted the man who had controlled her life, and the courtroom listened. Outside, Meri stood on the courthouse steps. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust forward. Fans shouted support. She spoke, calm but resolute. I didn't come here to hurt anyone. I came to stop being erased. For too long we were asked to smile and stay silent. That's done. This is about equality. This is about truth. This is about never allowing someone else to write your story for you. Behind her, Janelle nodded solemnly. Together they walked away, strong and unbroken. Inside, the next witness was called. Mrs. Robyn Brown, please come forward. Silence enveloped the courtroom. Even the subtle rustling of paper seemed muted. Robyn rose slowly, heels clicking softly on the polished floor. Gone was the polished TLC image. Before the court was a woman acutely aware of the reckoning to come. She smoothed her long cardigan, trembling. The bailiff administered the oath. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, Robyn whispered. Her testimony began, cautious yet revealing. It was always my belief that the land belonged to all of us. One piece each. That's what Kody said. Did you think Meri and Janelle owned it? At first, yes. But then things changed. People left. Christine left. Meri became cold. Janelle was angry. I seemed the only one committed to making the dream. Were you part of the deed paperwork? I signed some papers but left legalities to Kody, Robyn admitted. The lawyer pressed. So you're saying you didn't realize the deeds left Meri and Janelle behind? I didn't really know. Not initially, she whispered, treading a careful line between denial and culpability. But Meri's attorney was ready for the cracks to show in her testimony. The cross-examination would expose the inconsistencies, the half-truths, and the quiet complicity that had denied Meri and Janelle their rightful share. It began with a voice that had been silent for years, but never again. Within the tense walls of the courtroom, footsteps echoed as Meri Brown rose from her seat and walked toward the stand. Cameras were forbidden, yet if they had been allowed, every lens would have captured the woman who had once faded into the background of polygamy, now stepping into the spotlight of justice. Meri, in a dark blue blazer with her blonde hair pulled back tightly, carried a folder filled with years of evidence, proof of loyalty, sacrifice, and resilience that had been met with betrayal. Her eyes never faltered, not as she passed Robyn sitting beside Kody, and not as she locked her gaze on the man who had promised her equality, faith, and dignity. She approached the microphone, lowered it, and spoke, her voice firm yet trembling with the weight of hidden anger and sorrow. Your Honor, she began. I stand here today to reclaim what was owed to me. Not just as a wife, but as a woman, as a mother, as a human being. I want what's mine. And I am not backing down. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Fans had watched Meri Brown endure heartbreak, betrayal, and isolation on sister wives. They had seen her quiet struggles, her failed attempts at connection, and her unyielding loyalty. Today none of that mattered. Today was about Coyote Pass, a 12-acre slice of land in Arizona that represented more than property. It symbolized promises broken and dreams denied. Behind her, Janelle sat with lips pressed tightly together, a mirror of the fire flickering in Meri's eyes. They were no longer former sister wives. They were allies against a system that had sidelined them. The judge, a woman of calm authority in her 60s, nodded. "Mrs. Brown, you may proceed." Meri unfolded her first document, an August 14, 2018 payment statement from her business account to the family trust intended to fund Coyote Pass. Her name was missing from the deed. Next, she held an email from their real estate broker confirming her financial interest. Then a duplicate of the show contract signed by all wives, which clearly stated that family income would support the shared property. "When Kody and I legally divorced in 2014 so he could adopt Robyn's children," Meri said, her gaze unwavering, "I did so believing spiritual equality would remain. That our family, though restructured, would honor our agreements. That was a lie." Kody's jaw tightened. Robyn shifted uncomfortably. Meri's voice grew firmer. "I spent 30 years in this family raising a child, contributing to a show that made this land possible. And now I'm told I am not worthy of a single acre." Her lawyer, a keen-eyed woman in a tan suit, stepped in. "Your Honor, this family operated under a single financial umbrella. Meri was not merely a spiritual wife. She was an unpaid partner in a decades-long business that funded Coyote Pass." Kody's defense argued that Meri's involvement wasn't financial, but her lawyer swiftly dismantled the claim. The truth was undeniable. Money earned by the women through shows, media appearances, and business ventures had contributed to the very land they were now denied. Outside the courthouse, whispers grew into rumors. Kody glared, his carefully constructed image of control cracking. Meri's eyes, once filled with adoration, now burned with resolve. Coyote Pass was more than soil. It was proof that years of loyalty and patience could not be stolen without consequence. Weeks of investigation revealed the depth of deception. Emails uncovered between Robyn and the real estate attorney outlined deliberate exclusion. "We don't want the other wives to make it messy. Better if we finalize everything before they notice." Kody had manipulated finances, misused shared funds, and orchestrated a legal maze that left Meri and Janelle on the sidelines. Meri returned to the stand with evidence. 6 payments totaling tens of thousands of dollars made from her personal income into the family account. "I invested my life, my dignity, my name," she declared, "for a man who made me invisible." Kody was confronted, his arrogance faltering. He claimed to have advanced 92% of the property funds himself, but could not dispute that these came largely from family income generated by Meri and Janelle. The courtroom watched as the mask of the controlling patriarch slipped, exposing the man who had treated women as replaceable pieces in his empire. Robyn's turn was a spectacle of emotional conflict. She tried to explain her actions as following orders, but the documents and evidence left her no room for denial. "I trusted him," she admitted repeatedly, tears streaking her face. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone." Meri watched quietly, unmoved. The courtroom recognized a truth beyond sympathy, a pattern of systemic silencing and betrayal. 3 long weeks later, the final verdict arrived. The judge's voice filled the room. The court finds that verbal, written, and financial agreements were made among all adult parties regarding Coyote Pass. Plaintiffs Meri Brown and Janelle Brown demonstrated legitimate expectations of joint ownership. Mr. Kody Brown, with the aid of Mrs. Robyn Brown, knowingly secured legal title without fair disclosure. The property shall be reappraised, and Meri and Janelle shall be financially reimbursed equally, or the property shall be sold and divided 25% to each wife. Silence, then a collective exhale. Meri didn't cheer. She simply breathed, releasing decades of pain, and turned to Janelle, who squeezed her hand in quiet triumph. Robyn buried her face, Kody turned away, and outside the courthouse, media and fans erupted with support. At a later press conference, Meri stood with Janelle, her calm voice commanding attention.